The slaver ship Catherine's Bounty hung in the darkness above the small planet. Captain Vexthor stood on the bridge, his forearms crossed in satisfaction. The screen showed a tiny settlement below. Basic structures. No energy shields, no weapon systems. This would be easy money. Look at them, Vexthor said to his second-in-command Shillix. They still use fire for heat. Fire. This is the easiest catch we've had in cycles. Shillix nodded, but something made her uneasy. The settlement looked too organized for primitives. But she said nothing. Vexthor didn't like questions when profit was involved. The raid began at dawn. Stun weapons flashed. The beings below fell quickly. They looked strange, only 2 arms, soft skin, no natural armor. They wore simple clothes. Some tried to fight with metal tools, but the stun weapons dropped them instantly. 47 prisoners were loaded onto the ship. Men, women, and even some younglings. The Kryvik's crew laughed at how easy it had been. These creatures would sell well in the labor markets. The prisoners were locked in holding cells deep in the ship. They sat quietly, looking scared. Most stared at the floor. Some held each other. The guards relaxed. These primitives were already broken. But one prisoner was different. An older male with gray hair and scars on his arms. He watched everything. His eyes followed the guards when they passed. He studied the doors. He counted the time between guard changes. A guard named Zix noticed him watching. "What are you looking at, primitive?" The scarred man spoke slowly in broken galactic common. "How long?" "Before your people." "Notice you gone?" Zix blinked in confusion. "What?" "Response time," the man said carefully. "If you disappear, how long before help comes?" The question was strange. Why would a primitive prisoner ask about rescue protocols? Zix laughed it off and walked away. But the question bothered him. In another cell, a female prisoner with dark hair sat with a younger male. They looked similar, maybe family. The female whispered to the young one in their strange language. The young one nodded and stopped crying. "Mom, what do we do?" he asked in the human language. "We wait," she said quietly. "Your father taught you the rules. First we learn, then we plan, then we act. Not before." The young one, Jake, took a deep breath and nodded. Across the cells, the prisoners began to settle. They shared the small amounts of food the guards threw at them. They made sure everyone ate something. They took turns sleeping so someone was always watching. The guards thought this was just primitive pack behavior. They didn't realize they were watching soldiers organize. Captain Vexthor walked through the holding area that evening. He smiled at the quiet prisoners. "See? They know their place already. We'll make triple profit on this batch." "Captain," Shillix said carefully, "did you notice they share their food equally, and they have a rotation system for sleep? So, animals do the same thing. Animals don't set up guard shifts." Vexthor waved her off. "You worry too much. They're broken." "Look at them." But Shillix kept watching. One of the prisoners, a female who seemed to have medical knowledge, had somehow convinced a guard to let her help with a minor injury another prisoner had. The female had gentle hands and kind eyes. The guard let her work. While she worked, her eyes never stopped moving. She looked at the guard's equipment. The medical supplies. The door controls. She memorized everything. That night, in the guard quarters, old Corton sat in the corner. He was a Vryn, enslaved by the Kryviks 40 years ago. Now he helped manage the other slaves. He heard the guards talking about the easy catch. Corton stood up slowly. His old bones ached. What did the prisoners look like? Small, weak, pink skin. "Only 2 arms," Zix said. Corton went very still. "What did they call themselves?" "Who cares? They barely speak common." "What did they call themselves?" Corton's voice was sharp. The guards stared. Corton never raised his voice, one of them. I think he said, "Humans?" or something like that. Corton's face went pale. His hands shook. No. What's wrong, old one?" "You took humans," Corton whispered. "You actually took humans. What are you babbling about?" Corton grabbed Zix's arm. "There's an old warning. From before you were born, never take the pink skins who call themselves human. Never. They look weak, but they're not. They don't break. They don't submit. And they never stop coming," Zix laughed. "That's just a story to scare young raiders." "I heard it from my master who heard it from his master," Corton said. 200 years ago, human ships destroyed 3 entire slaver fleets. Then they vanished. We thought they were extinct. We hoped they were. "You're senile, old one." But Corton was already walking toward the bridge as fast as his old legs could carry him. He had to tell Commander Shillix. She might listen. She might understand. In the holding cells, Marcus Webb sat with his back against the wall. His eyes were closed, but he wasn't sleeping. He was counting. Time between guard changes, 18 minutes. Number of guards per shift, 4. Weapons carried, stun rifles and shock prods. Door lock type electronic with manual backup. He'd survived 6 months in a Zelthan prison camp during the border wars. He knew how to wait. He knew how to watch. And he knew that rescue would come eventually. The colony had protocols. The beacon would have activated the moment the raid started. They just had to survive until rescue arrived, or create their own opportunity. Sarah Chen sat across from him. She caught his eye and made a small gesture. She'd seen the medical bay layout. Jake had spotted the engineering access panels. 3 other prisoners were former military or police. 2 were engineers. 1 was a pilot. The Kryviks thought they'd captured helpless primitives. They'd actually kidnapped a militia sergeant, a biologist with field medicine training, a Navy engineer, and 44 colonists who'd all passed survival training. Marcus allowed himself a tiny smile in the darkness. The slavers had made a terrible mistake, and they didn't even know it yet. Corton found Commander Shillix in the navigation room. She was checking the jump coordinates to the slave markets. He approached slowly with respect. Slaves who forgot their place got hurt. "Commander," he said quietly, "I must tell you something." Shillix looked at the old Vryn. Corton had served on this ship for 10 years. He never caused trouble. Never wasted her time. "Speak." The prisoners. They called themselves humans. Shillix's spine stiffened. She'd heard that name before, once in the academy, in a lecture about extinct species. "Are you certain?" One of the guards heard it. Humans, pink skin. 2 arms, only 1 head. "It matches the old descriptions." "The Terrans," Shillix whispered. "But that's impossible. They disappeared 2 centuries ago." "Disappeared," Corton said carefully, "does not mean dead." Shillix's hands moved quickly across her console. She accessed the ship's bioscanner data. Every prisoner was automatically scanned when they came aboard. DNA samples, body composition, threat assessment. She pulled up the data for the 47 prisoners. Her blood went cold. The genetic markers were 99.7% matched to the forbidden database, the Terran database, the one that every slaver was supposed to check before taking any new species. The one Captain Vexthor never bothered to check because he was always in a hurry. "We need to tell the captain," Shillix said. Corton shook his head. "He won't listen. He never does." Shillix knew he was right, but she had to try. She found Vexthor in his quarters counting projected profits. "Captain, we have a problem." "The only problem is your constant worrying," Vexthor said without looking up. "The prisoners are Terran." That got his attention. He looked at her. "Terrans are extinct. The genetic scan says otherwise. 99.7% match. The scanner must be broken. Captain, please. Just look at the data." "Enough!" Vexthor's voice was sharp. "I'm tired of these old stories. Terrans, humans, the species that supposedly destroyed slaver fleets. It's propaganda. Stories made up by the Galactic Council to scare raiders. But Captain, we keep the prisoners. We sell them. We get rich." End of discussion. Shillix left his quarters with a heavy feeling in her stomach. She went back to the security feeds and watched the prisoners. They were behaving strangely. The humans had organized themselves into groups. They were exercising in their cells. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats. They did this in shifts, so some were always resting while others worked out. Why would prisoners about to be sold as slaves worry about staying strong? They also shared everything. If one prisoner got extra food by chance, they split it among everyone. They made sure the youngest and oldest ate first. They kept each other's spirits up with quiet words and hand gestures. This wasn't the behavior of broken prisoners. This was the behavior of a military unit. Shillix pulled up the intelligence briefings on Terrans. There wasn't much. Most records had been classified or destroyed. But she found fragments. Terran military doctrine: never surrender, never accept slavery, death before submission. Terran physical characteristics: extreme endurance, can function for days without sleep, high pain tolerance, capable of surviving in environments that would kill most species. Terran psychological profile: pack bonding behavior. Will defend group members regardless of species. Tendency toward creative problem-solving under pressure. Warning: do not underestimate. Historical note: 3 slaver fleets engaged Terran vessels near their home system 200 years ago. All 3 fleets were destroyed. Terran casualties minimal. Terran government subsequently withdrew from galactic contact. Current location: unknown. Shelix felt sick. On the ship's security feed, something caught her attention. One of the human prisoners, the female with medical knowledge, was talking to a guard again. The guard had a sore throat. She was offering to help. The guard, young and foolish, let her examine his throat. While she worked, her other hand rested near his belt, near his equipment pouch. When she stepped back, the guard's spare access key was gone. Shelix rewound the feed. The movement was so smooth, so professional, she almost missed it. The human woman had stolen the key while the guard was distracted. Security team to holding area 3, Shelix said into her communicator. Check all guard equipment now. But when the team arrived, they found nothing. The key was back in the guard's pouch. How when?
Shelix watched the feed again.
Another prisoner, an older male, the one with the scars, had been doing cleaning duty nearby. He'd returned the key after the human female had made a copy of its electronic signature. She'd used a small piece of metal from a food tray to record the key's code. These weren't primitives. These were professionals. Later that day, a guard disappeared for 20 minutes. They found him unconscious in a maintenance corridor. He'd been knocked out cleanly, professionally. His weapon was still in his holster, but it had been taken apart and reassembled. Someone had wanted to study how it worked. Who did this? Vexthor demanded. Unknown, sir. The security feeds for that corridor were disabled. How? That requires technical knowledge. Shelix pulled up the work assignments. A young human male, the son of the medical woman, had been assigned to clean that corridor. The same corridor that just happened to have a maintenance access panel. The same panel that, when opened, could disable nearby security cameras. Captain, Shelix said, we need to talk about the prisoners. What about them? They're trained, organized, they're preparing for something. Vexthor laughed. Preparing? They're in locked cells on a moving ship in deep space. What are they going to do? I don't know. But we should consider releasing them. Drop them on a habitable planet and leave. Release them? Are you insane? Do you know how much they're worth? They're worth nothing if they kill us all. Vexthor's face darkened. Commander, you're relieved of duty. Go to your quarters, rest, you're clearly stressed. Shelix left the bridge. She went to the slave quarters and found Corton. Tell me everything you know about humans. Corton sat down slowly. My master's master was there. 200 years ago. He was on one of the slaver fleets that tried to raid human space. They thought humans were easy targets. Peaceful traders, soft. What happened? The humans let them come. Let them board their stations. Let them take prisoners. The slavers thought they'd won. Corton's eyes were distant, remembering old stories. Then the humans came for them. They didn't fight like civilized species. They used everything. The stations themselves became weapons. Life support failed in some sections. Others were vented into space. The slavers who survived those traps faced humans in hand-to-hand combat. How did the humans fight? Like demons. They didn't stop. Injuries that would kill other species, they ignored. They worked together perfectly, like they could read each other's minds. They turned slaver weapons against them, turned ship systems into traps. And they didn't just escape, they captured the slaver ships. All 3 fleets? All 3. 47 ships total. The humans took them all. Then they broadcast a message to every slaver in the galaxy. Never again. Touch our people and we will find you. Shelix's throat was dry. How many humans were on those stations? 200 civilians, scientists, families. And they destroyed 3 slaver fleets? Yes. Shelix looked at the security feeds. 47 human prisoners. All organizing. All preparing. All waiting. Just like their ancestors had waited 200 years ago. We have to convince the captain, she said. He won't listen. Then we need proof. That night, Shelix did something she'd never done before. She went to the holding cells. She stood in front of the scarred human's cell. Marcus Webb looked up at her. His eyes were calm, patient. What are you? Shelix asked. Marcus stood slowly. He walked to the bars. We're human. Are you going to try to escape? Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Commander, we're not going to try to escape. We're going to succeed at escaping. The only question is how many of your crew die when we do. You're in locked cells. You have no weapons. You're surrounded. So were our people 200 years ago. Marcus leaned closer. Do you know what happened to those slaver fleets, Commander? Shillix nodded slowly. Then you know what's coming. Why tell me this? Because you're smart. You checked the genetic database. You know what we are. And you have a choice. Marcus's voice was steady. Help us leave peacefully or try to stop us. One way, most of your crew lives. The other way, is that a threat? It's a fact. We will not be slaves. We will not stay here. We will go home. People will die trying to stop us. How many die is up to you? Shillix felt ice in her veins. This wasn't bravado. This was simple truth spoken by someone who'd made this choice before. She walked back to her quarters and started making plans. If the captain wouldn't listen, she'd have to act alone, because in 18 hours, the ship's long-range sensors would detect something. A human warship. Coming fast. Coming for its people. And when it arrived, there would be no mercy for slavers. Captain Vexthor made his decision at dawn. The prisoners were becoming too organized, too confident. It was time to break their spirits. He would start with the scarred one, the one who watched everything. Marcus Webb was dragged to the interrogation room. 4 guards held him down while Vexthor activated the neural pain inducer. It was a standard tool. Send electrical pulses into the nervous system, cause maximum pain without permanent damage. Most species broke in minutes. Vexthor set it to level 5. Most beings begged for mercy at level 3. Marcus gritted his teeth. His body went rigid. Sweat poured down his face, but he didn't scream. Vexthor increased it to level 7. Marcus's hands clenched so hard his nails drew blood. His jaw was locked shut. Every muscle in his body was shaking. But still he made no sound. Impressive, Vexthor said, but pointless. Tell me, who trained you? What organization? What planet? Marcus opened his eyes. Despite the pain, despite everything, he smiled. Then he spoke clearly. Sergeant Marcus Webb, service number 77294, Terran Colonial Marines. That means nothing to me. It will. Vexthor increased the setting to level 9, the maximum. No species had ever stayed conscious at level 9. Marcus screamed then. Finally. But it wasn't a scream of surrender. It was a scream of rage, of defiance. His eyes stayed locked on Vexthor's face. Even in agony, even breaking, he was memorizing every detail, planning, waiting. Vexthor shut off the machine. Marcus slumped in the chair, breathing hard, but he was still conscious. Still watching? How? Vexthor whispered. Zelthon prison camp, Marcus gasped. 6 months. This is nothing compared to that. He was dragged back to his cell. The other prisoners saw him, saw the burns from the neural inducer, saw him barely able to walk. They also heard what he did as the guards threw him in his cell. He started singing. It was a military cadence from Earth, old, traditional, about soldiers who never surrendered. The words were in the human language, but the meaning was clear. One by one, the other humans joined in. Their voices filled the holding area. The guards backed away. There was something wrong about this. Something terrifying about prisoners who'd just watched their leader tortured, singing songs of defiance. In the guard quarters, the Krivix crew started talking nervously. The prisoners weren't breaking. They were getting stronger, more unified. One guard refused to go back to the holding area. Another requested transfer to different duties. Only the youngest and most foolish guard still volunteered for prisoner watch. And even they stayed in pairs now. Meanwhile, the humans continued their quiet work. Sarah Chen had gained access to the medical bay 3 more times. Each time she learned more about Krivix biology, pressure points, nerve clusters, vulnerabilities. She shared this information with the others in quick whispers during their exercise time. Jake Chen had mapped the electrical system from the access panels he'd cleaned. He knew which circuits controlled what. He knew how to disable security cameras, how to lock or unlock doors remotely, how to override emergency systems. Other prisoners gathered information too. Guard schedules, weapon storage locations, the layout of the ship. Everyone contributed something. At night, Marcus would tap on the walls between cells. A simple code, instructions, plans. The guards heard it but thought it was just prisoners trying to communicate. They didn't know it was tactical planning. On the bridge, Shalix watched all of this with growing dread. She ran genetic tests on the humans again. The results came back the same. 99.7% matched to Terran database. She dug deeper into old archives, found a classified report from 2 centuries ago, a survivor's account from the slaver fleet disaster. The humans didn't just escape. They hunted us. Through our own ships. They knew our technology better than we did within hours. They used our own medical supplies to stay conscious after wounds that should have killed them. They worked together like a single organism. We were 47 ships. They were 200 civilians. We lost. Shalix pulled up the current prisoner count. 47 humans. 47. The same number as the slaver ships destroyed 2 centuries ago. Was it coincidence? Or was it a message? She went to Vexthor again. Captain, we need to abort this operation. Why? Because the prisoners sing songs? Vexthor was eating. He seemed unconcerned. Because long-range sensors detected something that got his attention. What? A ship on intercept course. Military grade? Moving fast? Identification? None, it's using stealth technology. Our sensors barely detected it. How long until it arrives? 18 hours. Vexthor thought for a moment. Then we jump to hyperspace now. We leave before they arrive. Captain, that ship might be human. If we run with their people aboard, they'll hunt us forever. Let them try. We'll be in the slave markets in 3 days. We sell the prisoners and disappear into the outer colonies. And if they find us, we're in a full-armed merchant vessel. We have weapons, shields, we can defend ourselves. Shalix wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. Vexthor had made his decision. She left the bridge and went to find Corton. The captain won't listen, she said. He's going to run. Then we're all dead, Corton said simply. Not if I help them escape. Corton stared at her. You'd betray your own crew? I'd save my crew. Vexthor is leading us all to death. If the humans escape, maybe they'll show mercy. Maybe some of us will survive. Humans don't show mercy to slavers. Then help me minimize the casualties. Corton was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. What do you need? Information. A way to contact them, the scarred one. Marcus. That night, Corton was sent to deliver food to the prisoners. It was beneath him, but he volunteered. He approached Marcus's cell and slid the food through the slot. Commander Shalix wants to talk, he whispered. Marcus looked up. Why? She wants to help. She knows what you are. She knows what's coming. Can we trust her? No, but you don't have many choices. Marcus considered this, then nodded. Tell her to disable the security cameras in Corridor 7 at midnight. I'll talk to her there. Corton left. Marcus turned to Sarah, who was in the next cell. This could be a trap, Sarah said quietly. Probably is, but we need allies on the outside, and our window is closing. The rescue ship will be here in less than 18 hours, but the captain is going to try to jump to hyperspace before they arrive. Can he? If he does, it'll take weeks for our people to find us. We can't wait that long. We move tonight. The word spread through the cells in taps and whispers. Tonight. They'd been gathering intelligence for 3 days, studying patterns, preparing. Now they would act. At midnight, the security camera in Corridor 7 went dark. Marcus had picked his cell lock with a piece of metal he'd been hiding in his shoe. He moved silently through the shadows. Commander Shalix was waiting. You're really going to help us? Marcus asked. I'm going to help my crew survive what's coming. That means letting you go. Smart. I can disable some security systems. I can unlock doors. But I can't stop the captain. He's ordering the ship to jump to hyperspace in 6 hours. Then we have 6 hours. To do what? Marcus smiled that dangerous smile again. To take your ship. Shalix felt her blood go cold. Take it? You're going to try to capture an entire slaver vessel? Yes, that's insane. Commander, we're human. Insane is what we do best. Marcus moved back toward the holding area. Shalix stood in the darkness for a long time. Then she went to her quarters and started disabling security systems. Not all of them. Just enough to create blind spots. Enough to give the humans a chance. She was betraying her crew to save them. She hoped they would understand. In his cell, Marcus gathered the others. In whispers, he laid out the plan. It was risky. It was desperate. It relied on everything they'd learned and everything they'd prepared. Jake would take engineering. Sarah would secure the medical bay and any alien prisoners who might help. Marcus would lead the assault on the armory. We have one advantage, Marcus said quietly. They still think we're broken. They still think we're afraid. He looked around at the faces of his, people, tired, scared, but determined. Let's show them what humans do when someone tries to make us slaves. The others nodded. At 0300 hours, when the guard shifts changed and the crew was at its smallest, the uprising began, and Captain Vexthor would finally learn what his ancestors had learned. 200 years ago, you don't capture humans, you don't break humans. And you definitely don't try to make them slaves, because when humans decide to fight back, they don't stop until they win, or until everyone who tried to enslave them is dead. The security camera in Corridor 7 went dark at exactly 0300 hours. Marcus was already moving. His cell lock clicked open silently. He'd practiced the movement 100 times in his head. He moved to Sarah's cell. Click. Then Jake's. Click. Cell by cell, the humans emerged into the corridor like ghosts. No sound, no wasted movement. They'd been waiting for this moment for 3 days. Marcus held up 3 fingers. 3 guards on the shift. He pointed to 3 of his people. They nodded and disappeared into the shadows. The guards never saw them coming. One moment, the corridor was empty. The next, a human hand covered a guard's mouth while another struck a precise nerve cluster that Sarah had identified. The guard dropped without a sound. His stun rifle was caught before it hit the floor. 2 more guards fell the same way in less than 30 seconds. Teams move, Marcus whispered. Jake led a group of 5 toward engineering. They moved through the maintenance shafts that Jake had mapped. The Kriviks were too large to use these passages. They'd never thought prisoners could access them. Sarah took 3 others to the medical bay. They needed supplies, stimulants to keep them awake, painkillers for the injuries that were coming, and syringes filled with sedatives for any guards they needed to stop quietly. Marcus led the main group toward the armory. They'd studied the guard patterns. They knew when shifts changed. When attention was lowest, they'd planned every step, but plans never survived contact with the enemy. A crew member came around a corner unexpectedly. A Krivik's female carrying maintenance equipment. She saw the humans. Her eyes went wide. Marcus reached her in 3 steps. His hand covered her mouth. "We don't want to hurt you." "Not if you understand." The Krivik's female was shaking, but she nodded. "We're taking this ship. You can help us hide or die. Your choice." She nodded frantically. Marcus released her. She ran. "She's going to sound the alarm," one of the other humans said. "Maybe, but we gave her a choice. That's more than they gave us." They kept moving. Jake reached engineering. The door was locked, but he had the access codes from the panel he'd studied. The door opened silently. 2 engineers were inside, monitoring the systems. "Don't move," Jake said in Galactic Common. He was holding a stun rifle they'd taken from a guard. The engineers froze. "We're not going to hurt you, but this ship doesn't jump to hyperspace. Understand?" One engineer nodded. The other reached for an alarm. Jake shot him with the stun rifle. The engineer dropped. The other engineer put his hands up quickly. "Smart choice. Now show me how to lock down the hyperspace drive." In the medical bay, Sarah and her team found 3 patients and 1 doctor. The doctor, a small being with multiple eyes, stared at them. "We need medical supplies," Sarah said. "Take them," the doctor said immediately. "Just don't hurt my patients," Sarah smiled. "We won't. We're not like them." She gathered what she needed: sedatives, stimulants, bandages. While she worked, she spoke to the alien patients. "How long have you been slaves?" 6 years, one said. 4 years, said another. "Do you want to be free?" All 3 stared at her. Hope flickered in their eyes. "Help us take this ship. We free everyone. Not just humans, everyone." The patients looked at each other. Then they stood up. They were weak, malnourished, but they were willing to fight. Marcus's team reached the armory. 2 guards stood outside. These guards were armed and alert. There was no way to take them quietly. Marcus stepped into the corridor. Both guards saw him immediately. They raised their weapons. "Stop or we shoot." Marcus kept walking, steady, calm. "I said stop." Marcus smiled. "You're going to shoot an unarmed prisoner?" "Your captain wants us alive. We're valuable." The guards hesitated. That hesitation cost them. 2 humans dropped from a ventilation shaft behind them. The guards went down hard. Marcus took their weapons, stun rifles, shock prods. He opened the armory door. Inside were 40 more weapons. Body armor. Communication devices, gear up, he said to his team. Now they weren't prisoners anymore. They were soldiers. The alarm finally sounded at 03:15. Captain Vexthor woke to the sound of emergency klaxons. Report, he shouted into his communicator. Prisoners have escaped. They've taken the armory. They're armed. How many guards down? 8 confirmed. 3 injured. We're trying to organize a response. Vexthor couldn't believe it. They're primitives. How are they coordinating this? Sir, they're not primitives. They're moving like military. They know the ship layout. They've disabled security cameras. They're using tactics. Vexthor felt ice in his stomach. He'd ignored the warnings. All the warnings: lock down the bridge, get every available guard to the engineering section. We jump to hyperspace now. Sir, engineering reports they can't activate hyperspace. The system is locked. What? By who? By one of the prisoners, sir. A young male. He's in engineering now. Vexthor pulled up the security feeds. Half were dark. The others showed chaos. Humans moving in organized teams through his ship. Guards falling back. Some guards weren't even fighting. They were running. How was this happening? He saw the scarred human on one feed. Marcus, leading a team down Corridor 9. They moved like dancers. Perfect coordination. Covering each other. Checking corners. Professional military. These weren't captured colonists. These were soldiers. Sir, they're freeing the other slaves. What? On the feeds, Vexthor watched humans opening the slave quarters. Dozens of beings poured out. Different species. Different homeworlds. All enslaved by the Kryvix. The humans were arming them. Organizing them. Leading them a rebellion on his ship. All remaining guards to the bridge, now. We hold here until we can restore hyperspace. But the guards were scattered. Disorganized. Some were already surrendering to the humans. Others were barricaded in their quarters, too afraid to fight. In less than 20 minutes, the humans had taken 3/4 of the ship. Marcus stood in the main corridor. Around him were 47 humans and 50 freed slaves of various species. They had weapons. They had purpose. We hold engineering, he said. We control life support. We control weapons. The bridge is sealed, but they can't go anywhere. We wait. Wait for what? Asked one of the freed aliens. For our ride home. On the bridge, Vexthor was panicking. Can we vent the corridors? Kill them all? Sir, if we vent the corridors, we kill everyone except those on the bridge. We'll be stranded with no crew. Then flood them with sleep gas. The humans disabled the environmental controls. How did they know how to do that? Commander Shillix finally spoke from her station. Because they've been watching, learning, preparing, since the moment we took them. Vexthor turned on her. You knew. You tried to warn me. Yes. Why didn't you make me listen? Would you have? Vexthor had no answer. The long-range sensors suddenly beeped. A ship had dropped out of hyperspace. Close, very close. Identification? Vexthor demanded. The sensor officer's voice was shaking. Sir, it's Terran. A destroyer. United Nations of Earth ship Retribution. The communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect galactic common. Strong, female, absolutely cold. Kryvix vessel Cothran's Bounty, this is Captain Okoye of the UNI's Retribution. You have 47 human citizens aboard. You will surrender immediately. You will allow boarding. You will face justice. If you resist, you will die. You have 60 seconds to comply. Vexthor stared at the screen. The human ship was smaller than his, but it bristled with weapons. Its shields were active. Its weapons were hot, and Vexthor knew deep in his bones that these humans would do exactly what they promised. He'd heard stories. Ancient stories. About what happened when humans came for their people. There was no negotiation. No mercy. They won't really destroy us, one officer said nervously. We have their people aboard. Shillix laughed bitterly. You don't understand humans. They'll fire through their own people if it means killing slavers. They value freedom over life. The countdown hit 30 seconds. Sir, the prisoners, the humans, they're broadcasting to the Retribution. They're sending intel, ship layout, number of crew, everything. Of course they were. They'd been gathering that information all along. 20 seconds. Captain, what do we do? Vexthor looked at his crew. They were terrified, looking to him for orders. For salvation, he had none to give. 10 seconds. Open a channel, Vexthor said quietly. Tell them. Tell them we surrender. The relief on the bridge was visible, but it was short-lived. The human captain's voice came back. Surrender acknowledged. Powering down your weapons and shields now. What? We didn't. The ship's systems went dead. Weapons offline. Shields down. The humans had hacked them. From outside the ship. Boarding party launching. Do not resist. Any crew member who harms a prisoner or resists boarding will be terminated immediately. The bridge doors exploded inward. But it wasn't the boarding party. It was Marcus and his team. They'd blown through from below. Marcus walked onto the bridge, stun rifle in hand. He looked at Vexthor. Sergeant Marcus Webb, Terran Colonial Marines. This ship is now under human control. Captain Okoye's boarding party will be here in 3 minutes. You and your crew are under arrest for slavery, kidnapping, and assault. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in a military tribunal. Vexthor stared at him. How did you do this? Marcus smiled. That terrible patient smile. You thought we were primitives. You thought we were weak. You thought you could break us. He leaned closer. But we're human. We don't break. We adapt, we overcome, and we never ever stop fighting. The boarding party arrived. Marines in full combat armor poured onto the bridge. Captain Okoye walked in last. She was tall, dark-skinned, with eyes like steel. She saluted Marcus. Outstanding work, Sergeant. I knew you militia types were tough. Marcus returned the salute. Just following our training, ma'am. Never surrender. Never submit, Okoye turned to Vexthor. You're coming with us. All of you. You'll face trial for your crimes. We have rights. We have diplomatic immunity. You lost your rights when you became slavers. You lost your immunity when you touched humans. Okoye's voice was ice. And you're going to learn what human justice looks like. The Kryvik's crew was rounded up. The ship was secured. The freed slaves were given medical attention and offered transport home. Marcus stood in the corridor watching it all. Sarah found him there. We did it, she said. We did. Jake says the retribution is beautiful. Full modern human tech. He's never seen anything like it. Marcus nodded. The colony was isolated, cut off. We didn't know Earth had been building a fleet. Makes you wonder what else is out there. What else humans have been doing for 2 centuries. Marcus looked out at the stars through a viewport. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. The world their colony had left 3 generations ago. And somewhere out there were more slavers. More species who preyed on the weak, but now they would learn. Humans were back. And they remembered. Let's go home, Marcus said. 3 days after the liberation of the Cothrine's bounty, Marcus stood in the conference room of the UNES Retribution. Around him were Captain Okoye, her senior officers and representatives from the United Nations of Earth. On the screen was Ambassador Chen. No relation to Sarah, but the name made Marcus smile anyway. The ambassador was based on Terra Station, the diplomatic hub where Earth met the galaxy. Sergeant Webb, the ambassador said, your actions have created a situation. Sir, Earth has been quietly rebuilding for 200 years. We left galactic politics to protect ourselves and others. We didn't want our military capability used as leverage against peaceful species. But your capture and liberation has forced our hand. Marcus stood at attention. I apologize if we caused diplomatic problems, sir. The ambassador laughed. Problems? Sergeant, you've solved a problem we've been debating for 50 years. Whether to return to the galactic stage, the decision has been made for us. A new face appeared on the screen. An older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Admiral Zhang, commander of the Terran Navy. Sergeant Webb, your colony sent a distress signal when you were taken. That signal was received by our deep space monitoring network. We've had ships patrolling the outer colonies for years, protecting human settlements without revealing ourselves. Your situation has changed that. I don't understand, ma'am. Your colony thought it was alone, isolated, but Earth never forgot its children. Every colony that left Terra has been monitored. Protected from a distance, when the Kryviks took you, we responded immediately. Marcus felt emotions rising in his chest. The colony had thought Earth had abandoned them, that they were truly alone in the galaxy. We weren't forgotten, never, and now the galaxy knows we're back. Captain Okoye stepped forward. The Kryvik Slaving Consortium has been operating for decades, authorized by their government, protected by corrupt officials in the Galactic Council. They've enslaved thousands of beings from hundreds of species. And now? Marcus asked. Now Earth has declared war on slavery. All slavery, everywhere. On the screen, another figure appeared. President Okafor of the United Nations of Earth. She spoke directly to Marcus. Sergeant Webb, when your ancestors left Earth, they carried our values with them. Freedom. Dignity. The right of all beings to live without chains. You and your people demonstrated those values when you refused to submit, when you fought back, when you freed not just yourselves but every slave on that ship. We did what anyone would do, ma'am. No, you did what humans do, and because of you, the galaxy will remember why slavery is forbidden. The scene shifted. They were now in a courtroom, a Galactic Council facility, but this wasn't a council trial. This was a human military tribunal. Captain Vexthor and his crew stood in restraints. Behind them sat representatives from 20 different species, all former slaves. All ready to testify, the presiding judge was human, a stern woman with military bearing. Captain Vexthor, you are charged with slavery, kidnapping, assault, and crimes against sapient beings. How do you plead? Vexthor's lawyer, a Krivix diplomat, stood quickly. The accused claims diplomatic immunity. Under Galactic Council law, this tribunal operates under Terran law. The judge interrupted. Terran law does not recognize immunity for slavers. The plea? Vexthor said nothing. Enter a plea of not guilty. Let's hear the evidence. The trial lasted 3 days. Witness after witness testified. Former slaves told stories of years in captivity, families separated, children sold, bodies broken by forced labor. Sarah Chen testified about the conditions on the ship, the casual cruelty, the complete disregard for the prisoner's well-being. Jake testified about the ship's logs. He'd downloaded everything before the retribution arrived. Records of hundreds of raids, thousands of slaves, decades of crimes. Marcus testified last. Sergeant Webb, the prosecutor asked, what would you like the court to know about Captain Vexthor? Marcus looked at the Krivix captain. He broke the oldest law in the galaxy. He took free beings and tried to make them property. He thought we were weak. He thought we were primitives who would accept chains. He was wrong. Is there anything else? Yes, his crew. Not all of them were willing participants. Commander Shillix helped us. She risked her life to save both her crew and ours. Old Corton, who was a slave himself, warned us and helped us. There are beings on that ship who deserve mercy. The prosecutor nodded. The charges against Commander Shillix and Corton have been dropped. They've been granted asylum on Earth. Marcus nodded. Good. They'd earned it. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all counts. The sentence was harsh. Life imprisonment, no parole. The crew who'd participated willingly received similar sentences. Those who'd surrendered peacefully received lighter sentences. Those who'd helped were freed. But the trial was just the beginning. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Earth's return could not be ignored. Not when human ships were patrolling dozens of systems. Not when human Marines were raiding slaver operations across 3 sectors. Ambassador Chen stood before the council. 200 years ago, humanity withdrew from galactic politics. We did this to protect you, not ourselves. We knew that our military capability, our refusal to surrender, our tendency toward violence when threatened, we knew these things made us dangerous. The council members shifted uncomfortably. We withdrew so that you wouldn't be caught in the crossfire of our wars. So that slavers couldn't use your people as hostages against us. So that we could rebuild and become better than we were. And now, asked the council speaker, now we return. Not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as the thing we've always been, the species that refuses to accept slavery, for anyone, ever. You're declaring war on the slave trade? We declared it 200 years ago. We're simply enforcing it now. Murmurs ran through the chamber. The Krivix government will protest, the speaker said. They'll claim you're violating their sovereignty. Then the Krivix government can explain why they authorized slave raids, why they protected slave traders, why they sold sapient beings in their markets. Chen's voice was cold. Earth does not negotiate with slavers. We eliminate them. This is aggression. This is justice, the council argued for hours. But Earth didn't need their permission. Human ships were already moving. Raiding slaver operations, freeing prisoners, destroying slave ships. The message was clear. Slavery was over. Any species that continued to practice it would face humanity. 6 months later, Marcus stood on the surface of his colony world. The settlement had been rebuilt. The people had returned. But everything was different now. Ships came and went regularly. Earth ships, bringing supplies, bringing technology, bringing news of the wider galaxy. Sarah worked at the new hospital. Real medical equipment now. Earth had sent doctors, teachers, engineers. The colony wasn't isolated anymore. Jake had been offered a position at Earth's Naval Academy. He was leaving next month. Marcus was proud of him. Captain Okoye visited sometimes. She was hunting slavers now. Her ship had destroyed 4 slaving operations in the last 2 months. Freed hundreds of beings. How's the campaign going? Marcus asked her during her last visit. Better than expected. Most slavers are running. The smart ones are finding legitimate work. The stupid ones are dying. Good. The council finally recognized human jurisdiction over slavery cases. They had no choice. Half the galaxy's species were supporting us. Marcus looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, human ships were patrolling, protecting, hunting. We're back, he said quietly. We were never gone, Okoye replied. We were just waiting. For what? For someone to give us a reason to return. You did that, Sergeant. You and your people. You reminded the galaxy what humans stand for. That night, Marcus sat with his family. They'd been reunited after the rescue. His wife, his daughter, safe, free. Dad, his daughter asked, the kids at school say humans are the scariest species in the galaxy. Is that true? Marcus thought about it. Thought about the battle on the Cothrin's bounty. About the look in Vexthor's eyes when he realized what he'd captured. About the slavers running in fear across a dozen systems. Maybe, he said, but only to people who try to hurt others. To everyone else, we're friends. His daughter seemed satisfied with that answer. Later, alone, Marcus accessed his personal messages. There was one from Admiral Zhang. It was brief. Sergeant Webb, the Terran Colonial Marines are reforming. We need experienced soldiers to train new recruits. Interested? Marcus smiled. He'd been a soldier once. Then a colonist. Then a prisoner. Then a soldier again. Maybe it was time to teach the next generation, to make sure that no human ever forgot how to fight. How to refuse chains. How to be free, he typed his response. Yes, ma'am. When do I start? The answer came immediately. Tomorrow. Welcome back, Marine. Marcus looked out at the stars one more time. The galaxy was big. There were still slavers out there. Still species that preyed on the weak. But humanity was back, and this time they weren't hiding. Across the galaxy, in a dozen different systems on 100 different worlds, slavers heard the news. Some fled, some tried to hide. Some foolishly tried to continue their trade. They all learned the same lesson eventually. Humans don't forget, humans don't forgive, and humans never stop coming for their people. The old warning from 2 centuries ago was remembered. The warning that had been forgotten, dismissed as myth, ignored by arrogant raiders. Never take the pink skins who call themselves human. Never capture a Terran. Never, ever make an enemy of Earth, because when humans declare war, they don't stop until they win. In the depths of space, on a forgotten slaver station, an old Vryn spoke to his grandson. He'd been a slave for 40 years, but now he was free, freed by human Marines who'd raided the station. Remember this day, the old Vryn said. Remember who freed us. Remember who destroyed the chains. I will, grandfather. And remember the lesson all species must learn. What lesson? The old Vryn looked at the human ship departing in the distance. The Uni's retribution, carrying freed slaves to their homeworlds. That there is one species in this galaxy that will never accept slavery, not for themselves, not for anyone. They are called human. They are called Terran. They are called the free people of Earth. And if someone tries to enslave them, the old Vryn smiled, then that someone learns what it means to face a species that would rather die than submit. A species that turns prisoners into soldiers. A species that treats freedom as more valuable than life itself. He pointed at the stars. That lesson has been taught twice now. Once 200 years ago, and again today. Let us hope the galaxy learns it this time. Will they? For their sake, they'd better. Because if they don't, if they continue the slave trade, if they continue to prey on the weak, what happens then? Then humanity will teach them again, and again, and again, until there are no more slavers left in the galaxy. The old Vryn and his grandson watched the human ship disappear into hyperspace, carrying freedom, Carrying hope. Carrying a message to every corner of the galaxy. Humans are back and they remember.